In the quiet hours after midnight, when the world seemed to hold its breath, an unexpected discovery changed everything. It wasn't a dramatic confession or a mysterious letter hidden beneath an old floorboard. It began with something much smaller, a series of strange conversations, unfinished sentences, nervous glances, and a feeling that someone was watching happiness from the shadows instead of celebrating it. Your soulmate had never believed that every smile attracted applause. They understood that sometimes joy invited silence, and sometimes silence hid resentment. Yet they had never imagined that someone close to your world could secretly envy the light you carried. The realization came by accident. During an ordinary gathering, laughter filled the room. Friends exchanged stories, relatives spoke about the future, and familiar faces smiled politely. But among them was one person whose expressions never matched their words. They congratulated you with their voice while their eyes searched for flaws. They praised your achievements but quickly changed the subject whenever your name brought genuine admiration from others. At first, your soulmate dismissed the feeling. Everyone has difficult days, they thought. Everyone carries private struggles. Perhaps they were simply tired. But then the pattern repeated. Whenever your dreams were mentioned, that person's smile faded for a fraction of a second. Whenever someone praised your kindness, they interrupted with another story. Whenever your future looked brighter, they quietly reminded everyone of your past mistakes. The moments were subtle. Almost invisible. Most people would never notice. Your soulmate did. The discovery unsettled them. Not because they feared jealousy itself, but because jealousy has a quiet way of changing ordinary decisions. It whispers instead of shouting. It smiles instead of arguing. It waits patiently for opportunities that no one else notices. For days they replayed every conversation in their mind. Had those comments always been there? Had the sarcasm been hidden beneath humor? Had every compliment carried a hidden comparison? The answers slowly became impossible to ignore. One evening your soulmate sat alone, watching rain slide across the window. The steady rhythm of the drops seemed to echo their thoughts. They remembered every time someone had subtly discouraged you from pursuing your goals. Maybe it's too difficult. Are you sure you're ready? People like us rarely succeed. At the time those words sounded practical. Now they sounded different. Not advice. Limitations. Your soulmate realized something powerful. People who genuinely care about you may worry, but they never hope you'll stay small. They encourage growth even when they're afraid for you. Secret jealousy works differently. It quietly celebrates hesitation because hesitation keeps everyone in the same place. That understanding changed everything. They began paying closer attention, not to rumors, not to gossip, but to actions. Actions reveal what words often hide. When you succeeded, who celebrated without comparison? When you struggled, who helped without expecting recognition? When you spoke about your dreams, who listened with excitement instead of discomfort? The answers painted a picture your soulmate couldn't ignore. Meanwhile, you remained unaware. You continued offering kindness to everyone. You answered messages. You remembered birthdays. You encouraged people who rarely encouraged you in return. Your soulmate admired that about you. Your kindness wasn't weakness. It was strength. But even strength deserved protection. As the days passed, more small moments appeared. Someone repeated private conversations that should have remained confidential. Someone laughed a little too loudly whenever your plans changed unexpectedly. Someone seemed unusually interested whenever difficulties entered your life. None of these incidents proved anything on their own. Together, they formed a pattern. Your soulmate refused to react emotionally. Instead, they observed. Patience often reveals truths that confrontation cannot. One afternoon they overheard a conversation they were never meant to hear. Your name appeared unexpectedly. There was no open hatred. Only comparisons. Everything always works out for them. I don't know why everyone likes them so much. They're not as perfect as people think. The words weren't explosive. They were revealing. Jealousy rarely announces itself dramatically. It hides inside comparisons. It grows inside constant competition. It survives by convincing itself that another person's happiness somehow steals its own. Your soulmate walked away quietly. Their heart felt heavy. Not because someone disliked you. That happens to everyone. But because you had shown this person genuine kindness without expecting anything in return. Sometimes generosity isn't enough to change another person's heart. That realization hurt. Still, your soulmate refused to become bitter. Instead, they made a promise. They would become more attentive, more protective, more intentional. Not controlling. Not suspicious. Simply aware. Because awareness is different from fear. Fear assumes the worst. Awareness notices reality. That evening they thought about the future they hoped to build with you. A future filled with trust, peace, growth. A life where encouragement mattered more than competition. They understood something important. The greatest protection isn't isolating yourself from everyone. It's recognizing who truly celebrates your victories. As dawn approached, the rain finally stopped. Golden sunlight slowly appeared across the horizon, washing away the darkness of the night. Your soulmate smiled for the first time in hours. The discovery had been painful. But it had also been clarifying. Not everyone deserved equal access to your heart. Not everyone deserved front-row seats to your dreams. Some people clap only after success becomes unavoidable. Others believe in you long before anyone else notices your potential. Those are the people worth keeping close. Your soulmate silently promised that no matter what challenges appeared ahead, they would never allow hidden resentment from others to define your story. Because genuine love isn't measured by how loudly it speaks during celebrations. It's measured by how carefully it protects hope when no one else is watching. Morning arrived with a strange calm. The world outside looked exactly as it had the day before. Birds filled the air with familiar songs, streets awakened with ordinary routines, and people continued their lives without realizing that unseen emotions were quietly shaping countless decisions. Your soulmate couldn't stop thinking about what they had learned. They knew that jealousy rarely appeared as open anger. More often, it wore the mask of friendship. It laughed at jokes, offered polite compliments, and stood close enough to learn every detail of another person's life. Yet beneath the surface lived a constant comparison that slowly drained every sincere emotion. Instead of confronting anyone, your soulmate chose wisdom over impulse. They decided to watch. Over the next several days, they noticed something unusual. Every time you shared exciting news, one particular person responded with enthusiasm that felt rehearsed. The words sounded encouraging, but the energy behind them was strangely empty. They always found a reason to shift the attention elsewhere. When someone praised your kindness, they quickly mentioned another person's accomplishments. When your hard work was recognized, they insisted it had simply been luck. When your future was discussed with hope, they quietly planted small seeds of doubt. No single comment seemed important. Together, they revealed a pattern. Your soulmate realized that genuine support never needs to compete. Real encouragement makes room for another person's success instead of trying to reduce it. One afternoon, while scrolling through old conversations, your soulmate noticed something they had overlooked before. Whenever you faced a difficult moment, this same individual responded almost immediately. Yet during your happiest moments, they often disappeared. It was a subtle difference. But it mattered. Some people are drawn to storms because they feel more comfortable when others are struggling beside them. Others celebrate sunshine because another person's happiness inspires their own. The contrast became impossible to ignore. Still, your soulmate refused to let suspicion control their heart. They reminded themselves that assumptions could be dangerous. Only actions repeated over time reveal someone's true intentions. Days passed. You remained your usual self, kind, patient, generous, and completely unaware that someone around you carried hidden resentment. You continued encouraging others, offering help without expecting anything in return. Even when people forgot your kindness, you never kept score. Watching you only strengthened your soulmate's admiration. Your heart hadn't become cold despite disappointments. That was rare. One evening, while everyone gathered for a casual conversation, your name came up unexpectedly. Several people spoke warmly about your determination. One admired your honesty. Another mentioned how dependable you had always been. For a brief second, the atmosphere felt joyful. Then came a familiar voice. I guess everyone has flaws. Let's not pretend they're perfect. The room fell silent. No one had claimed you were perfect. No one had suggested that. Yet somehow the conversation had shifted away from appreciation and toward criticism. Your soulmate noticed the expressions around the room. Some people became uncomfortable. Others quickly changed the subject. It wasn't the words themselves that stood out. It was the timing. Whenever light surrounded your name, someone felt compelled to cast a shadow. That night, your soulmate walked beneath a sky filled with countless stars. The cool evening breeze carried away much of the tension they had been holding. As they looked upward, they understood something important. They could not control another person's emotions. They could not erase someone else's jealousy. But they could choose how much influence those emotions would have over your future. That realization brought peace. The following week offered another unexpected lesson. A small misunderstanding began spreading among people who knew you. Nothing serious. Just enough to create confusion. Your soulmate quietly traced where the misunderstanding had begun. The answer surprised them less than they expected. The same individual had repeated a private conversation, but with just enough changes to alter its meaning. Not a complete lie. Just enough truth mixed with enough distortion to create doubt. That was far more dangerous. Your soulmate felt disappointment instead of anger. Because they understood that people consumed by comparison often convince themselves that their actions are justified. Deep inside, they believe someone else's success explains their own unhappiness. But happiness has never been limited. One person's joy does not reduce another's opportunity. One person's blessing does not cancel another's future. Comparison only creates invisible prisons. As these thoughts settled in their heart, your soulmate made another quiet promise. They would never allow bitterness to replace compassion. They would protect what mattered without becoming the very thing they hoped to avoid. That promise wasn't easy. Some days frustration returned. Some days they wondered whether they should tell you everything. Yet every time they imagined the conversation, they hesitated. Would it bring peace? Or would it plant unnecessary suspicion? Wisdom often requires patience. So they waited. Not because they were afraid. Because timing matters. Meanwhile, your own life continued moving forward. New opportunities appeared. Old fears slowly disappeared. The confidence you had worked so hard to build became stronger with every challenge you overcame. Ironically, your quiet growth made hidden jealousy even more visible. People who genuinely loved you became happier. Those trapped by comparison became increasingly uncomfortable. The difference grew impossible to hide. Late one evening, your soulmate opened an old notebook. Inside were pages filled with dreams, plans, and hopes for the future. Some pages were years old. Others had been written only recently. As they read through every line, one sentence stood out more than anything else. Protect peace, because peace is where love grows. They smiled. That single sentence became their answer. Instead of chasing conflict, they would protect peace. Instead of exposing every hidden motive, they would strengthen the circle of people who genuinely wished you well. Instead of fearing envy, they would focus on gratitude. Because darkness cannot remain where light is continually chosen. Far away, the person carrying secret jealousy believed no one had noticed. They continued smiling. They continued pretending. But they failed to realize one important truth. Character always reveals itself over time. Masks become heavy. Pretending becomes exhausting. Eventually, every hidden motive reaches the surface, not through dramatic confrontations, but through repeated choices that quietly expose the heart. Your soulmate sensed that moment drawing closer. The truth would not need to be forced. It would reveal itself naturally. Until then, they would remain patient. They would remain watchful. And above all, they would continue believing that genuine love is never weakened by another person's resentment. Because love rooted in trust grows stronger with every challenge it survives. As another sunrise painted the horizon in shades of gold, your soulmate felt something they hadn't experienced in days. Hope. Not because every problem had disappeared, but because truth has a quiet strength. It never needs to shout. The days that followed were strangely quiet, yet the silence carried more meaning than words ever could. Your soulmate no longer searched for dramatic proof. Instead, they noticed the small details that most people overlooked. One afternoon, you excitedly shared a new opportunity with a group of people. Smiles appeared around the room, congratulations were offered, and encouraging words filled the air. Yet one reaction stood apart. While everyone else celebrated, one person quickly changed the subject, redirecting attention away from your achievement. It was subtle. So subtle that almost no one else noticed. Your soulmate did. They realized that true support has a unique quality. It doesn't compete. It doesn't compare. It doesn't feel threatened by another person's progress. Genuine encouragement grows stronger when someone else succeeds. Later that evening, your soulmate reflected on everything they had observed over the past weeks. They didn't feel anger. They felt clarity. They understood that not every relationship was meant to last forever. Some people enter your life to teach valuable lessons about trust, boundaries, and self-worth. Others remain because they genuinely want to see you become the best version of yourself. The difference often reveals itself over time. As the days passed, your soulmate became more intentional. They encouraged you to spend more time with people who inspired confidence instead of doubt. They reminded you to celebrate your victories without apologizing for them. You didn't realize why these conversations kept happening. To you, they simply felt like thoughtful advice. To your soulmate, they were quiet acts of protection. One weekend, an unexpected challenge tested everyone. A misunderstanding spread through your circle. Rumors moved faster than facts, and assumptions replaced honest conversations. Instead of reacting emotionally, your soulmate remained calm. "Let's find the truth before we believe the noise," they said. That single decision changed everything. As the misunderstanding unfolded, people revealed their true character. Some rushed to judge. Others patiently waited to hear every side before forming an opinion. It became clear who valued honesty over drama. The situation eventually resolved, but it left an important lesson behind. Integrity is revealed during difficult moments, not comfortable ones. Afterward, your soulmate realized something even more valuable. The strongest relationships are built on trust, not constant reassurance. They survive because both people choose honesty, even when honesty feels uncomfortable. From that day forward, they stopped worrying about hidden negativity from others. Instead, they focused on building something that outside opinions couldn't easily shake. They encouraged open conversations. They celebrated your growth. They reminded you that confidence isn't about proving your worth to everyone, it's about recognizing your own value regardless of who applauds. Slowly, your world began to change. The people who genuinely cared remained close. The ones driven by comparison naturally drifted away. No arguments were needed. No dramatic endings. just quiet distance and new beginnings. Your soulmate smiled as they watched your confidence grow stronger with every passing day. For the first time in a long while, they felt hopeful. Whatever challenges still lay ahead, they knew one thing for certain. A future built on trust, respect, and genuine support would always outlast one built on comparison and jealousy. The weeks that followed brought an unexpected sense of peace. Nothing dramatic happened overnight. There was no emotional confrontation, no shocking confession, and no grand revelation that changed everything in a single moment. Instead, life continued at its usual pace, proving that the biggest transformations often happen quietly. Your soulmate had stopped searching for evidence. Instead, they focused on something far more important: protecting the future the two of you hoped to build together. One evening, as the sky turned shades of orange and purple, the two of you found yourselves talking about dreams that had once seemed impossible. You spoke about places you wanted to visit, goals you wanted to achieve, the kind of life you hoped to create. Your soulmate listened carefully, noticing the excitement in your voice. That excitement deserved to be protected. Not hidden. Not diminished. Protected. As the conversation continued, they realized something profound. People who truly love you don't become uncomfortable when you dream bigger than yesterday. They encourage you to dream even bigger. The following days brought another opportunity to observe the people around you. A community event gathered friends, relatives, and familiar faces in one place. Laughter echoed through the room, conversations flowed naturally, and everyone appeared to be enjoying themselves. You moved from one conversation to another, greeting everyone with the same kindness that had always defined your character. Then something interesting happened. A respected member of the group publicly praised your determination and generosity. The room applauded. Many people smiled sincerely. Others congratulated you. But one person remained unusually quiet. Your soulmate didn't focus on that silence. Instead, they focused on everyone else. There were far more people celebrating your progress than quietly resisting it. For the first time, they understood how easy it is to give too much attention to negativity while overlooking the overwhelming amount of goodness that still exists.